Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod / CEO Wisdom Pod. We have both with us today. Shaun Byrnes is here. He is founder of Shredded, and we're going to talk about workouts, biohacks, everything in between. This podcast is brought to you by potbuyer.com. That's my podcasting company. If you want to start, scale, be invited to podcasts like this one, or even find sponsors. Podcasting is probably one of the greatest growth machine I've yet to experience in my time as a growth hacker in the past decade. You can use it to grow your network. You can use it to grow a community, to get more followers, and even to get leads and clients. So podbuyer.com if you need help with your pod. Shaun, welcome to the pod. Can you tell us a bit more about Shredded and yourself?
So Shredded's a platform for health and wellness, where we're unifying basically a fragmented market of all sorts of different types of tools, websites, apps, and bringing them into one single location. So the user basically don't have to use a whole bunch of them or keep track of them, pen and paper, this sort of thing. So there's a lot of this sort of stuff in the market, but from what we've seen so far, there's yet to be really one company or one sort of organization that's basically kind of consolidated or unified that space into like an Amazon of health and fitness, if you would.
And how do you make money with that?
So the monetization of it would be from professionals in the space, basically being able to provide their services and what they offer to users within the platform. So work like a marketplace, basically. Think like Uber or Airbnb, where users can connect with one another and essentially many of the end users or the people that would use this platform may never quite need that. So it's not something that they have to pay for as an end user. Like to the end user, that's entirely free. And then if they're looking for that type of help or service when they're feeling inspired or they're lacking motivation or guidance, they can reach out and basically connect with the professionals on that platform that are providing coaching, training, nutritional plans, workout programs, guides, I guess, products, any of this sort of thing. So it's sort of there if they need it. And I guess those type of people that are professionals that are offering this, from what we see, unlike I guess other typical marketplaces where like a service provider in Uber as the driver is quite different than a service provider in, say, a health and wellness space where they're kind of the biggest users themselves. So you essentially would see those guys as doing their day by day kind of wellness and fitness and nutrition, all that sort of thing for themselves, and then they're offering that service to people that need it. And so if the person come grab that service, then it's available. And if they then decide, okay, if something's changed, they don't need it, well, they're not tied to, I guess, a certain provider, so to speak, right? So that's how it's kind of end user focused rather than driven around the monetization for the professionals, because this type of industry is I guess quite transactional in that sense, where the person can be very motivated or very tied to a financial obligation with someone coaching or training them, and that only lasts sort of so long, right? So I guess a difference between a lot of other platforms that are building like a SaaS or type of service for the professional side of it, that's kind of not the best experience then for the end user, because it's great while they're with that professional, but in the long run, they're not necessarily going to stay with them, right? Like you don't stay with your driver in an Uber, like you go grab another one. And that's the sort of the most transactional, where you don't really know the person at all. It's very like you get in the car, take you from A to B, you get out. Something like Airbnb is probably closer to this, where you might build a bit of a relationship with the host, or they might have multiple properties and you go back to that host. This is more on the side where you build a further relationship with them, because the trainer or the professional you care much more about their profile and what they look like than like what the exact I guess the offering is. Because of course, even if you like the host, say in Airbnb, if they don't have a property that's where you want to stay, then it's not much good, right? So each kind of marketplace is unique in the sense of how it functions, and getting that dynamics right, if you want to use that kind of methodology for revenue, is quite precise. That you need to you can't treat them as one size fits all. So we sort of work on that, and then on a monthly subscription, i.e. like a SaaS, for the actual professionals to have that service facility.
So how much professionals are there and how many end users are there?
At this point, we're in private alpha, so it's just about 50 users on the platform testing it privately. We're pretty close to beta, where we will launch it, globally in a beta phase. Either the end of this year or early next year is the current target. So it's not at this point producing revenue or even actually publicly accessible. So it's like an invite-only platform while we are continuing to flesh out the final features for launch.
And with Shredded, tell me about your background, like your full career, like what led to that?
I dropped out of school in 15, and then ended up getting a job like doing just office duties, like answering phones, this sort of thing, in a place that was doing website design and sort of software development, that sort of thing, like an agency doing that in the kind of 2000s. So the internet and the web was very, very different back then. This is before iPhone, before, apps as we know it, which is just like an application, right? So people were making applications in other format, but they weren't as people know them today. Smartphones didn't really exist. It was, the time of like Nokias and this sort of thing. And so I kind of picked up design and got a chance to learn design programs like Adobe and this sort of thing, and early web design as well. And I was lucky with that opportunity in that early time. And so the internet was very different. I think YouTube was just starting. You didn't have Instagram, didn't exist, Snapchat didn't exist. So it was kind of early days, and customer expectation was probably much lower in terms of what they expected. And you also had I guess much more fragmentation of the market. Like, you didn't have such a consolidation then. A lot of people were going to agencies like this that were just, small or medium businesses serving, individual companies to get like online stores or catalogs or this sort of thing built. And that was already kind of like a pretty wow for the customer that you could do this on the internet back then, right? And it didn't take long before I kind of picked up programming there. Which was not at all my kind of original intent. I was sort of like, well, that sort of stuff's for nerds. That's not really me, and I kind of fell into it. And in the days of Flash and I wanted to kind of do something visual, user experience, and Adobe Flash at that time was like the thing that could do that on the internet. And so I kind of, the desire to do that outweighed my kind of lack of interest on becoming a programmer or something, because pretty much as soon as I got into it, you want to make anything happen, someone had to write that code. This was all new to me. I didn't really understand that was how it worked. But I picked it up well, and so I ended up kind of getting more and more into doing programming at that job. And I guess by the time I was like 17, that's all I was doing, was writing like software and applications for customers that would come to us. So I did that for quite some time, and that basically after I guess sort of 10 years in that sort of industry and various jobs, kind of gave me a lot of experience from a technical side to do something like this. But ultimately I kind of gotten out of that industry because I didn't want to sit in front of a computer programming all day. That's not really what I felt was my best strong points, or really my interest lied. Like, I'm good with computers. I just didn't want to sit at them and basically be in a room just typing code or whatever. And got into fitness and that sort of stuff as well. And that kind of, the combination of both of those, of being, being in fitness, being interested in that, I started in strength training. So like and using some apps at this time. So, you know, when we're sort of fast forwarding to, you know, iPhones existed, you know, there was apps for this sort of thing. And I wasn't setting out to build something like this in 2014 when it started. I was just like, I was using, you know, an app for my training of strength, and I really liked it. It was a, you know, great application. And then I kind of found out about nutrition. I was like, well, there's another app for that, and I was, you know, I was running. There's another app for that, you know, but I was like, oh, I'll just go on the App Store and find something where you can, you know, there's one platform where you can do everything. Surely that exists, right? And when I was looking around, I couldn't really find anything where there was enough subspecializations in each kind of field in that overall wellness and health kind of space. And I wasn't really committed to any particular work endeavor at that time. So I just figured, oh, I can start this thing, I can build something, make some money out of it, you know, and it will take 3 to 6 months. And that was fast forward like almost 10 years ago. We've been working on this, and that's taken me, you know, all around the world, and all sorts of learning experience and growth in that process. So it was not at all what I kind of thought I'd stumbled into, but I'm very happy that I went that way and started that thing, because whilst I had experience, you know, a technical side, and, you know, had some notion of business, it's very different to like founding something and then persisting through, keeping it going, and making every part of the business slowly come together, right? There's a lot of learning and growth you got to do something like that, and particularly to persist at it for that many years. You know, like there's a lot of different factors that are more than just writing a product. That's only one small segment of the business.
Right. And other than that, I see you're quite present on Instagram. Seems that every day you have a new car. What is your purpose with that part of you? Do you do some influencing as well?
Yeah, I mean the Instagram, actually, like I'd had it very early account, right, from pretty much when it first came out, but I didn't really use it much. And then when I started this, I basically started, you know, posting the same time, because I realized when starting Shredded, okay, I'm gonna need some platform or tool for marketing and promotion of this product, and it was starting to gain traction or growth as a platform. Instagram was back then. And so I just started basically posting what I was doing, or parts of my life, and, you know, training and where I was traveling. And that gradually, you know, became something I did more and more. So I got going with that. And then because of this, and then as I've, you know, grown during this journey, I just continued to post and, you know, do some influencer stuff. And I like nice cars, and, you know, and travel and all this sort of stuff anyway. So it's a fairly natural fit. And the type of thing that we're doing with the health and wellness is a very visual type of thing anyway. So there's good synergies between, okay, when I'm training, post training stuff, and, you know, driving cars or traveling around the world, posting that sort of stuff. It's and I like it. It's a bit of work, but it's kind of fun. So I just do that at the same time, really. And people have liked seeing this kind of stuff, I guess. So that's how I've kind of been doing that same time. But I love cars, I always have. So I'm kind of, you know, I love travel. This sort of thing requires you to travel, you know, and so it's kind of like people find that interesting. And so I had to keep doing it.
Yeah, it is interesting. It is a colorful Insta. One watch a day, or one car a day. It's quite entertaining. How do you get all that cash to travel that much and have uh all of these cars per day and these watches? So like, how do you get your income?
I mean, I think anyone that's got half a bit of sense knows that social media isn't exactly real life. Like it's not made up, but it's essentially in something like any person's life. It's a highlight reel or the best things that they want to show or display, right? And that applies for, you know, the influencer chicks that are on there. I mean, it's they're showing, you know, as I am, like things that they want to promote or they feel proud of, or a certain image that they want to portray. And in my case, that kind of the fun stuff, you know, and the travel, the cars is not the full picture. It's happening, but it's not necessarily what's going on, or like, you know, behind the scenes, you know, in the sense of there's a lot of work or kind of boring shit that's taking place that's not what you're seeing, you know, in the stuff that's posted, right? It's not the full picture of when you're just sitting there, you're working late at night. It's not exciting at all. You know, people are switched off on their 9 to 5 and you're sitting there, you know, grinding at the computer. That's not what people really want to see, right? And yet there's a lot of that behind the scenes. But I guess, you know, a lot of the travel is for, you know, when we're traveling, say for Shredded, you know, going, looking to meet investors, you know, building networks, building, you know, people in the industry, this sort of thing. If that's taking me around the world, you know, for almost always business, right? It doesn't harm for me to take some photos in cool places and like, and, you know, show how that's going. And I'm not someone that likes to sit, you know, and just kick back on holidays all the time. It's too boring for me, right? So, you know, I only need a small bit of time where I'm chilling and you know, having a good time. And people can assume that that's all the time, when it's like, oh, I'm happy if I spend 30 minutes, you know, kicking back on the beach. Good, now I'm back to work, take a photo, you know, show it. So that's kind of how that comes about. But a lot of the time it's less exciting than it may look there. From a funding perspective of how, you know, we're doing this is, I'm also, you know, working in another business where we provide and offer like cybersecurity and cloud services, like information technology, service a lot of healthcare people. So it's have some good synergies to what we're doing here. So you know, there's Data Ford's ability to bootstrap this and so forth, because we pretty much, you know, any of the capital we were, you know, raised and built for Shredded just basically go into development expenses, you know, paying guys to basically build out the platform. Originally in the early phases, so in 2014 when I started it, I did sort of 13, 14 months, 7 days a week, you know, 10, 12 hours a day. I was programming the original version 1 of the platform myself. And then once we kind of grew, got my brother involved, who's, you know, he's featured a fair bit in my Instagram. We're very close. We work together in these businesses, train together, you know, like you know, we do a lot of stuff together. With you know, that we went on, raised capital. We basically then built out a team to develop and build essentially the platform now that's close to release. So you know, we're kind of, by working and, you know, sticking together closely, we can kind of you know, be, you know, stretch money a bit further by kind of pooling resources and stuff like that. And you know, lots of the cars that, you know, we get to drive is just cool people we meet, or, you know, people that you know, give us a car, or, you know, driving us around. Like, it's, I guess it's fun, you know, when you're meeting people and you're looking to the sort of stuff, the sort of guys you're getting on your pod that have got interesting lives. When you're reaching out to, you know, better caliber of people trying to make something of themselves, working hard, there's a lot of similar interests there, and people that are, you know, consistently working really hard to deliver value in the market tend to end up with nice trophies, right? Those nice experiences, which is really all Instagram kind of shows, trophies of, you know, accomplishment or things that people might dream they want to do. Take a lot of hard work to get those things. And you meet other people that are cool people. I've met some really good people through social media, some of my closest friends, and that's afforded some cool experiences. And you know, hopefully that continues to grow from there, because you know, those are like the little bits of time that's the sort of the fun or the reward for all the, you know, all the hours in the gym, all the hours at the computer, you know, all that hours of work, right?
Right. And what's your tip to meet all of these people? Do you outreach to them physically? Do you find them on social media, send them a DM? Like any tricks to meet all these successful folks?
I mean, both, right? Like, you can come across people where you spend a little bit of time with them, for a day, a month. People come in and out of your life when you're constantly kind of building and expanding network. Sometimes you really click and you build good, long-term relationships. But I think generally speaking, from my experience, the bigger you expand and kind of grow, you tend to have a very, very wide range of people as acquaintances or sort of like casual friends, so to speak, and you end up with a pretty small circle of very close people, right? Because knowing a lot of people, but in terms of close friends, people in your network ends up a very small circle, particularly because when you outreach or you meet a lot of people, and particularly successful people, everyone's very, very busy, right? So to build real close relationships takes time, and even people you get on well with or some close friends, it's finding the time to keep building that relationship when they're also very busy or chasing goals themselves is hard. But to your question, in person events, nightclubs, business conferences, social media, like really any method of communication, you just have to kind of, get past that lack of confidence and just put yourself out there. You don't get if you don't ask, right? So a lot of things that, where I've gotten in life, or help in different things, or connections I've gotten, is just asking, and you get way more no's than yeses, but after a while, I guess you get more comfortable in, connecting with people, and if it doesn't kind of gel and you just, connect with someone else, you're just constantly outreaching, meeting people, getting introduced to people, jumping at opportunities if they come. And a lot of the time, you might not, as fun as I like cars and stuff like that, it might be a car event and you kind of feel like, oh, I can't be bothered going to this. And if you don't kind of force yourself sometimes to go out or go to these things, or to reach out to someone, or to go to something that seems like you might not like it, sometimes it can be great, sometimes nothing comes out of it, but you kind of often have to sort of drag yourself, even if you don't feel like it, and you go, oh, this might have some new people I could meet, or I'm at this place and I don't know anyone. Okay, well, I'm not gonna get anywhere if I don't start talking to people, or get in conversation. And those can be birthday parties, it can be events. It's like same thing, right? You got to just reach out and meet new people. It's like you reached out to me and we talked a little bit. It's like, okay, there could be some value there for both of us. And it's same really as probably how you've built, the pod, and that you outreach, you talk to people, you meet people, and it builds momentum. And then after a while, you get better at it. It gets easier. I think a lot of that for me, I've always been good at making new friends and stuff, but I think a lot of being able to do that in a business sense has come from going out to raise capital, because basically you talk to hundreds of people and you get a lot of times where basically you're told politely, in a sense, no, like you don't get something out of it, right? And raising capital for a venture is a mutual relationship. It's not something where you have to be cap in hand and you're having to beg. If you've got something valuable to offer, it's possibly more beneficial for the investor than even yourself, right? It's a very mutual relationship. But I think a lot of people, it's easy to get discouraged. You go around, you're asking people, you're getting no, 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 no. The smart person keeps looking back at themselves and going, okay, well, why am I getting no's? What do I need to improve before people are going to be more interested in this offering? Like, I know I've got something good here, but evidently I'm not delivering that information or that value that someone else wants. And after a while, you do that enough and you get pretty comfortable with talking to people, and whether, digitally or online or face-to-face, right? You have to be able to do both. You can't just be good face-to-face and have no digital game. You can't be good just, online and then be uncomfortable face-to-face. You need to know both skills, and that's just like anything, is just a practice, right?
Let's do a luxury rapid fire to finish off this pod. So
Yep.
what's your favorite car after driving all these?
You mean in ones that I have or haven't been in, or just in ones that I've been in?
That you've been in. I mean, go with both, but
Okay, well,
the best would be
the
the ones that you've tried and you really, really liked.
look, I love the Aventador SV is like in cars that I've been in is like that's just a phenomenal car. It looks so good. It's so rough and raw. It's just phenomenal. In terms of cars, that's a dream car. I want the LaFerrari. So um Ferrari LaFerrari is like the dream. I think as a trophy as well, it's the car is now so much money to basically own that. It's a sense of if I can own that comfortably in the future, fundamentally I've achieved what I wanted in this, was just to bring enough value to the world that I can do that and have the freedom basically to own something like that, which is, without concern, is kind of the freedom to live life on the terms that I want. So it's not just that it's a beautiful car and I absolutely love that car. I think it's what it signifies. If you can comfortably own, $6-7 million car and not be of concern, it means you're living a very different strata of life than most people ever will reach. And that's kind of available to anyone if they really want it, but you've got to want that life and be willing to go through whatever you're going to get thrown at to get there.
Your favorite restaurant, the best meal you ever had?
That's a tough one. I love all sorts of cuisine, so I couldn't, I've eaten at a lot of places, and I don't have a good answer for you on that one, I wouldn't say. Because a meal is such a transient thing, it's delicious when you eat it, but it's bang, it's gone, right? And there's so many different types of food and cuisine that I like that it's kind of hard to stand out of which one. And often the company and who's there, probably in general experience, food, location, everything. If I tried to pick one, it's probably be at one of the restaurants in Monaco. Like there's some Michelin stars there, some really nice restaurants that things that probably do to probably one or two restaurants in Monaco would be my favorite if I really had to pick.
Favorite watch?
Oh, again, very hard. There's so many good ones. I don't have but probably I love the Patek 5726 annual calendar. Is a gorgeous watch, like one of those white dial Tiffany stamp. That would be probably be a real grail watch, or probably black ceramic, perpetual calendar AP. There's I love watches. It's been a fascination of mine. There's so many nice ones out there. I guess as well, they're a bit like cars. They're a real trophy. You kind of, if you can own this thing and be comfortable to own it, aside from some investment or speculative, value, it's more if you can own that, it's kind of nice to be able to walk around like with something that has significance to you for some accomplishment. And women have jewelry and so forth, and guys can have have a timepiece, right?
Last, favorite luxury destination in the world? You just named Monaco. Would that be it?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I love Monaco. It's just such an amazing place. So much wealth and opportunity consolidated, and in such a small space. I mean, so many nice cars, fashion, watches, beautiful buildings. It's beautiful location. That's probably my favorite place, honestly, to go spend some time. Miami or Florida is great in the US. But again, I love travel, so there's so many unique places, right? It's each one, I like country, I like city. They're different, different time, different mood. I'm just as comfortable in the country, nothing fancy, out, you know, um, hiking or in the bush, or driving trucks, right, as I am in fancy stuff in a city. So but yeah, it's a very incredible city.
Thank you, Shaun, for coming on today. Where can people find out more about you?
Probably best is just Instagram. You know, Shaun Byrnes on Instagram is probably the main place that I'm most active in, or I would do most of the socials. They can find out about Shredded, the platform at shredded.app or shredded.io, and have a look at that. Sign up for beta if they're interested for the platform and what we've got coming. So yeah, those would be probably the two best places.